Hey, Angie, give the people a quick intro. Who are you? What do you do now? That sort of thing.
So I'm happy to. I'm currently living in Texas, and I work for a company called Qualia, which is a real estate transaction management software tool. I've got two little kiddos, 3 and 5, and just really spend currently my time working and momming. Although I'd rather not rather. There's a lot of things I want to be doing, but parenthood has really taken the front seat at this season in my life.
Yeah, I'm sure that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You've been intentional about designing your career around your life. How did you get from medical devices to biotech to racing mountain bikes to now SaaS? That's a crazy. I was looking at your LinkedIn and that's a crazy
Yeah.
career.
Well, I appreciate you actually paying attention because I do feel like in my 20s and 30s I was living a really super fun action-packed life. And to give you just a little bit of background, I started my career in my mid 20s, got into medical device sales. I was originally just in business to business sales and realized that, I had heard that pharma was the way to go. And now looking back, I don't know if I would have made that decision due to the corruption that I've seen in the healthcare system. That's a whole different story. But medical device sales to me was something that allowed me to make some pretty good money, and that was really the main reason that I sort of went that direction. But I set a vision. I was selling copiers, and I was like, this is not what I want to do with my life, and wanted to reach for something a little bit bigger. So I read a book on how do I get into medical device sales and really put forth the effort, put out my resume, and got a job actually pretty quickly. And then I ended up doing medical device sales for about 13 years. And that really afforded me a pretty good nest egg to be able to do a lot of traveling, and just had a lot of fun in those years. Um, One thing that uh, sort of kind of had me concerned about the future of my life was that when you're in medical device sales, you are stuck to a city. You're stuck to a metroplex with hospitals. And I am a nature person and I'm an action sports person, and I did not want to be stuck in a city for the rest of my life. So I thought, how can I make this move? Now, outside of my job, I was a mountain biker. I think I started mountain biking in like 2003, and I always rode with men. My partner at the time, I would always ride with him, and all the other guy friends that we have that would ride. And I guess I got pretty good. So at that point, I started racing in like 2017 and started winning all of these races. And I really couldn't believe that I was as good as I was, because I was just riding for fun up to that point.
Yeah.
So I raced for 2 years locally in the Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas region, and was winning all the races. So I thought, you know what? So in 2018, I was ready to build my life where I could live in the mountains. And I knew that medical devices was not going to allow me to live in the mountains where I could do the action sports like snowboarding and mountain biking and all the things I really wanted to do. So I told myself that I wanted to take a year-long sabbatical to go race mountain bikes professionally, but I needed a plan. In the kind of racing that I do, when you go to races, you have to buy hotel rooms, or you camp in your car at the campsite, or you're always camping with tents. So I thought, I need an adventure van. So I built a proposal to an adventure van company called Van Do It out of Kansas City, Missouri, and I wrote them and I said, hey, I've been in business to business sales for my entire career. Here's what I want to do. I want you to sponsor me in my mountain bike endeavor, my race endeavor, and I will sell your vans for you, and I will represent you as if I work for the company. They came back about an hour later and said, absolutely. So the very next day, I quit my medical device job, and 2 weeks later, I was at their factory building out my adventure van, and got on the road. And so all the year of 2018, I spent that entire year being a van nomad and racing, Ended up working at a backcountry helicopter and cat ski operation in the wintertime, and it was just a really amazing adventure for me. Problem is, I broke my shoulder at the very beginning of it, so that kind of killed the race portion.
Yeah.
So when I got done with my sabbatical, I actually needed to figure out like what my next career move was going to be. And at the time, this was right before COVID. The thing that made the most sense to me was software because I knew that I could work from home. And of course, this was before we all went remote. So I ended up having a contact at Qualia and went to their open house and took my resume, my brag book, and I said, I want to work for you. And they hired me the next week. So that's how I sort of curated my career to fulfill my, my dreams.
That's very interesting. And I know you were talking about being the deliberate creator of your own experiences. I was wondering because you said on LinkedIn that you did look into SaaS because it is remote and like
Mm-hmm.
for the reasons again, like you had just said. Have you had to turn down opportunities that looked great on paper but didn't fit the life that you were building?
Well, thankfully, I haven't had to deal with that too much because I've been with Qualia the whole time. So there was one little stint where, it was kind of a little bit political, but I wanted to go into leadership on the sales team that I was on at the time, and there was sort of I saw a ceiling at that time, and so I went to another company to see if I could move my way up into leadership there, and then quickly realized, and I think this plays well into this conversation, that I think it's really important for people that want to be in SaaS to focus on products that are in an industry vertical. Like for instance, I'm in real estate tech, right?
Hmm.
For real, and I call on one type of customer, which is title companies. So those title companies have to answer their phones. So as an outbounding salesperson in SaaS, if you are trying to call on people that don't answer their phones, like HR people, IT people, it's really hard to be an outbounding new business AE. That's what I found when I went out to this other company was like might have made 500 calls and got two people on the phone. Now, granted, this was also during COVID, so people were certainly not answering their phones, but I ended up coming back to Qualia because I just really loved our customer base. And so I do think it's so important for anybody that wants to be in SaaS to try to really find those niche companies that have a very niche target audience. Not the most important thing, but it's important to me.
That's really interesting though. So you would say choose a vertical where people have to pick up their phone because you're right. Real estate people have to be on like at all times
Yeah.
for the most part. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
I mean, a
actually
title
makes
company
a lot of
can't let their
sense.
phones ring. They are 100% service oriented company. And I know that there's companies like Fractal, the founder of Qualia, who is Nate Baker. He's part owner in a company called Fractal, who specifically specializes in industry vertical type companies or software for those types of companies. So I just think it would be, for people trying to transition into SaaS, that would definitely be something I would look into first. Now, you have to do a little research, obviously, to figure out who the target audience is.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah.
That's kind of in the same vein of this next question. A lot of people are trying to transition into B2B SaaS like you did. I know you said you knew somebody at Qualia. Is there any other besides choosing a certain vertical? Is there any other advice you would give?
Yeah, I mean, my entire career, like when I was in medical device sales, every job I got in that tenure, which was probably like six different companies, because I really loved startups. It was all about the network. I feel like you have to be really, really strong at building your network, and I know LinkedIn is, a very important part of networking right now, but I also think it might be getting a little bit saturated with people trying to network with each other. I mean, um, this is a tough question for me to answer because I haven't had to go out and find a new job, but my husband is about to. So we're going to
Oh,
figure out what
okay.
that looks like here coming up. But I would definitely say, just in my older school sort of experience, I would say, finding people that at companies or just, yeah, really using your network.
Yeah, that makes sense. And to switch it a little bit to more tactical sales type stuff.
Sure.
Right now, you're leading the old Republic transition at Qualia. How do you
Mhm.
sell to someone who didn't ask to talk to you and doesn't want to change? Because it seems like a big, quite the transition. So yeah, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So thankfully in our industry, most of our title companies that we sell to know who we are, and they
Okay.
either have a distaste for us because of the amount of outbounding that we've done in the past versus people that like know who we are and just don't want to make the software switch, but are thinking, one day I'll move to Qualia, just not right now, because switching software, probably for any company, it's a really big decision to make. So I think for our AEs that are doing reach out to these companies, it's so, so, so important to be able to, when they cold call, to be able to ask very, very thoughtful discovery questions that get right immediately to the pain of their everyday process, and not to pitch. I am a firm believer that you should never pitch without pain. And so I think a lot of AEs, the thing that they do is they have commission breath. They get somebody on the phone and they get all excited and they just want to try to sell the product
Right.
rather than asking about their pains that we know that we can solve with our product. And just being a human. I think humanizing this process right now in the world of AI, where, executives and leaders are getting absolutely bombarded with AI sales outreach. I think personally it's actually hurting the sales world. And I absolutely do not think AI is going to take over sales people's job, because it's not at least at this moment, I don't think it's human enough. Because if you look in your LinkedIn spam, as soon as I became a manager, my LinkedIn box became just an absolute pit of AI spam.
Oh, I'm sure
And
that
it's
doesn't surprise me.
clear that they're making it look like I'm an AE, but they're all the same message from all these different companies, but it's like copy and pasted messages that are all just so sterile and lacking, that I think the more people can really just get back to the basics of humanizing the sale. I think that's really what the world is craving right now, especially people that are selling and somebody that needs a human to guide them through the sales process. I mean, nobody wants to
Yeah.
be guided through a sales process by a robot. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. And I use AI a lot. I'm not anti AI, but I know a lot of people are scared about AI kind of killing, in the sales world, killing their jobs. And I don't know that that's going to happen.
That's funny. I feel the same way because at Rocket Mortgage, I've done a loan where I didn't talk to the person and they can
Mm-hmm.
go through it's very rare, but you can go through the entire process and not talk to a person. But
Mm-hmm.
you lose so many people that way. Yeah, people always have questions. So when they can't
Oh, yeah.
ask you questions, you'll never hear, you can't get that person on the phone again. So yeah, I
Yeah. They'll
totally
just
see
hang up.
what
Like,
you're
nope, not talking to a bot.
for
Not
sure.
today.
Yeah. Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. Well, would you have tips there on how to yeah, be a little bit more
Humanize the
personal?
sale.
Yeah, exactly.
Pick up the phone. People want to talk to another person. I mean, you can do, obviously there were like, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, there was this real big push to humanize or personalize rather email outreach. So, going on to LinkedIn and seeing some things that they might be interested in, and just trying to figure out ways you can be like, hey, John, I saw that you're the Kansas City Chiefs fan. So am I. I was at the game
Right.
last week, whatever. Trying to like personalize that outreach, but that it can also be very, very time consuming. But um, I think a lot of people are just really scared to pick up the phone. And to my point earlier, it is sometimes difficult when your target audience literally never picks up the phone. So, I know that there's probably some new sales techniques out there right now that, people that don't have an industry vertical specifically might be having success with, but in my, I can really only speak to my industry right now because I know that our people pick up the phone. So that's what my team does. They pick up the phone and they call. We're not doing, we are doing email outreach, but if you really want to connect with somebody, it's got to be through person to person interaction.
And I know you said a lot of people already know, well, people that you're calling already know of Qualia, so there's already
Mhm.
some level of trust there. What objections are coming up when your team is calling, and how are you guys getting around those?
Yeah, interesting question because we've been around for 10 years. And when we first started, our industry is a very, very antiquated industry, very, very paper heavy, an insane amount of duplicative data entry and just manual work that's not revenue generating. And so, the people that have been doing title work have done it for 25 years and they're,
Hmm.
older people that don't want to change. Now, granted, it's becoming younger. Obviously the more we go, the more like millennials are coming into the title industry, but um uh a lot of times people are anti-qualia because of the amount of cold calling that we have done to them over the years where they just weren't willing to make a change. But our new business division is very persistent. And I think that, they also brought in some SDRs. And I think sometimes the SDRs don't have as much product knowledge or industry knowledge, and they can come across as just sleazy, not, I don't want to say sleazy, but salespeople that don't really know how to engage in a really good, thoughtful, pain invoking conversation. And so they tend to just like push for the demo, push for the next step when that person isn't quite ready for that because you haven't uncovered any pain. You've not uncovered any reason why they need to have a demo. And so, the more that reach out happens and they keep saying no, they have this image in their head of the type of company that we are, when really that first layer of sales has nothing to do with the customer experience or what, how the software is going to perform for them. So I
Right.
think that's the first thing that we have to get over is when they do finally give us a chance. And my specific team right now is our customers are came from an acquisition. So last year we purchased two of our competitors. And so my team, I lead the team that is helping those customers transition from those softwares that are going to be sunsetting. And we're helping them transition over to Qualia. Now they don't have to come to Qualia. They can go to another competitor. So when we get them on the phone, the initial conversation is we're talking to them about what the sunsetting looks like. So we have an active audience, but it doesn't guarantee the sale. So they're there to listen. And the first question we ask is, what are your thoughts on the Qualia acquisition of this software? And probably 50% of the time, they're extremely upset about it because
Oh,
of the
really? Interesting. Okay.
reputation. Well, just because of the reputation that
Yeah.
they had with people calling them over the years. And also just because when we first started 10 years ago, we were our founders were, Silicon Valley, new grads right out of college and wanting to come into an industry that has been doing the same thing for 25 years and they didn't want to change. So kind of had some um, images of these cocky Silicon Valley guys coming in trying to like upset the industry and we have, but it's taken a lot longer or not upset, but revolutionize the industry. But it's taken 10 years to do it. It didn't happen near as fast as our founders thought it would. So a lot of times people just have this image of Qualia as, this like Silicon Valley mega corporation, and we are absolutely not. If anything, our founder Nate has done a really great job of blend or of accepting the fact that we didn't know everything when we came in, and they've hired people from the title industry. And so now we provide a stellar experience for our customers. And so when these people that are hesitant are anti-qualia, the first thing we do is let them vent,
Hmm.
be empathetic to it, let them say whatever they want, and then just uncover, help like get over those objections that they have about their feelings of qualia. And then as we move through the sales process, they see that, we are good people. We're being very consultative and helping them through this process. So it's really just a matter of, in my opinion, I think the number one thing in customer service is empathy and letting people talk, letting them say their piece, and being empathetic to the fact that they feel that way. And I think that really goes a long way to build trust, and so that they feel like they have somebody to vent to, because all these years they've had these feelings, or maybe they went through they heard about the acquisition and they had these feelings and they didn't have anybody to complain to. And now that we're
Yeah.
on the phone with them, they're able to just let it all out. And we're going, okay, we understand, totally get it. Other people have felt that way too. And then they start to relax. And then we get them on the demo and they're like, oh, okay, now we see why you guys bought the company, because our product is just absolutely amazing with the AI integrations that we have added, and really revolutionizing the industry. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
That is crazy. A lot come in. So yeah, like 50% are upset. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's an interesting
yeah,
sale.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we got some good stuff. I will end it here.
Cool.